Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
That was ugly. That was hideous. We waited Monday. We had an off day, and we were highly anticipating them to take the diamond again, to watch them lose 7-0, to watch Familia late get obliterated. Now, the 7-0 loss doesn't tell the full story. They didn't do good enough to win, let's be honest here, right? You start the game off, Kyle Schwarber bunts on, you get first and second 0 outs, and then the duo that keeps looking more miserable as games continue in Nick Castellanos and JT Realmuto, they show their ugly heads once again where you don't cash in. In the 5th inning, Nick Castellanos can't get a timely hit again. Unfortunately, Matt Vierling gets robbed a little bit in that spot as well with the diving catch out in left field, which stung, and I thought maybe he'd be able to come up clutch. When I saw the ball in the air, I'm like, please drop, please get into an area where maybe they could make some noise, but it just couldn't happen. So, they did not play a good enough game, regardless of what happened with Familia, regardless of what the final score says, and that's what matters to me most. Did the loss feel 7-0? No. I mean, the 9th was tough, and Familia sucks, and Familia's awful, and you think about how much money they spent on him, and now his role is basically, when your team is getting crushed, come in here and hold on a little bit. I mean, that's really what his role has become. And they weren't really getting crushed at 3-0 when Kyle Gibson allowed back-to-back homers. There was the double and then the Seager little squirt through the infield that tacked on that extra run to make it 3-0. He was fine, right? I mean, he gave you a fine outing. He kept you in the game. It just came down to leaving runners on base the way that you constantly keep doing it. Yeah, I mean, that could be a kryptonite. It's been happening long enough now where that can be a kryptonite. And I know that there's possibly some optimists out there going, well, JT and Castellanos won't play this poorly forever, right? And you're probably right with that assessment. But when they do find themselves, is it then when Rhys Hoskins maybe goes into a bit of a funk again, or Alec Boehm is struggling at the plate, or, something happens with Kyle Schwarber where it's no longer June and he's hitting bombs after bombs after bombs, and then we just shift our focus on whoever is in their ugly spurt, which, I do expect Castellanos to look better at some point, but right now it's ground ball after ground ball after ground ball, and this is coming right. I can't believe we're here already right after he had those nice shots in the gap, because we were optimistic a little bit about what happened in Washington when they took 4 or 5 from D.C., from the Nationals, and he drove the ball into the gaps. But we also have to remember that when you look at Perez, that's not the garbage that the Washington Nationals have. The Rangers defense, and trust me, this Rangers team is not some excellent squad filled with absolute studs, but they're not the Washington Nationals either. And you saw that with a lot of their defensive plays today, their effort today, then of course their starting pitcher. But that's why that first inning was so damn important. Not only that, JT Realmuto, second base, 0 outs. Guess where he ends up finishing when the inning is over? Second base. They can't get timely hits to save their damn life. Matt Vierling gets rung up. Now, the pitch was a little bit inside. He had an argument to be made that that was a ball. But, I mean, come on. It's so damn frustrating seeing these players grab the bat too tightly. They look the same way as they did throughout the full 9 innings when Joe Girardi was here. It's the same exact thing. It's just now it's happening more when there's added pressure, knowing there's bases loaded with no outs, which we've seen a couple of times over the last week or so. Or there's a guy on second and first with 1 out. They cannot, because it feels like they know They know the storylines. They see the articles. They see what people are clicking on all over social media. Phillies are poor when it comes to getting players around third and touching home plate. They are left on base way too many times. So when they're at the plate, they know, I need to get a hit. I need to get a hit. I need to get a hit. And then it takes them out of their approach at the plate, and they ground out into a double play, or they just hit a ground ball to shortstop and they're out at first base and nobody moves at second and they stay at second. It's just so aggravating. I guess here is something, if you do want to milk a bit of positivity. You're getting on. You're getting on. Only time will fix this. If you want to look that way. But I already kind of countered that previously, which is, okay, maybe. But not everyone will be clicking at all times. And maybe the answer is as simple as this. When Bryce Harper's back, the team's vibe is all back. Because they don't look as filled with passion when he's not there. If you get a hustle double from Bryce Harper, you get a double in the gap and he's standing at second base and he's pumping everybody up, looking at the dugout, doing all sort of hand signals and firing up the crew. When you don't have that because of the blister issue, and trust me, I don't want this team to be as dependent on Bryce Harper's energy as they were last year, because you saw him mixed with an NL Cy Young still wasn't good enough to make a playoff spot and have this team in a series to compete for the playoffs, even though we knew they had flaws. But when you're so desperate on one or two individuals, that's what happens. You end up missing. You end up just coming up short. You brought in the big bats and you brought in the personalities, so there wasn't as much life just sucked into one guy. But it's still there. And that's not trying to devalue how lethal Bryce Harper is. NL MVP. If you are an MVP of a National League multiple times, yeah, you do get a lot of credit and you do deserve a lot of respect and love for all of that appreciation that your clubhouse has and for that personality that your teammates love. But we also have to tie in, you brought in a lot of these players for a reason. So come on, step the hell up, Castellanos. I even thought, now I'm not going to bash him completely and just crush him into shreds here, but I thought, and maybe a different right fielder makes the play to rob the second home run. Now, trust me, it is blasphemy to just crush a person for not jumping over a wall and snagging a home run over the fence. That is a very hard thing to do, but he was super, super close, and it's not a knock on him, I'm just saying a more athletic right fielder had a better chance of maybe doing it, which would be special and it would be amazing. And we're talking Sports Center top 10 plays, and we're not talking number 10 on the list. We're probably talking more 3, 2, and 1. Would Bryce Harper do it? I don't know. Maybe I am critiquing a little bit too heavily, knowing that the last game against the Nationals, Cesar rips one to right field, and he's jumping up in the air and just looks awkward, and he's an easy target because he doesn't do a lot of things well in the field, and it just looks so uncoordinated that it seems he's not even a professional. If I saw him run, I wouldn't even think he was a professional athlete. That's how all over the map it is with him just looking like his bones don't make sense. I don't know. Anyway, he needs to pick it the hell up, though. It's been long enough. I think the leash for Castellanos figuring it out, there's a time where there's an adjustment period. He claims he's not comfortable and all that, which is fine. I get it. I've been around baseball a long period of time. This is sometimes just a part of the beast and how things work when you change cities to cities and you change new teammates and you're finding things, in the trenches, if you will. I guess you're doing him a disservice, though, Rob, if you're batting JT Realmuto, someone who's struggling more than Castellanos, right behind him. It's totally unacceptable, and you have to find a way to split those two up. This is now week 2 of me demanding something to change, where, come on, what are we doing here? JT Realmuto cleanup? You're just forcing something that isn't there. We gave him a lot of praise in Rob Thompson because he's telling his players, I believe in you. But at some point when they fail, and 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 they fail, it just becomes dumb. The decision becomes dumb. It's no longer, I believe in you. It's, hey, I gave you your chance, but it didn't work. So we have to tweak it so we can find some new life. That's all. And I'm speaking more JT than Castellanos because realistically, your bread and butter of this lineup was supposed to be him in that cleanup spot, him batting behind Bryce Harper and giving that juice there. And I believe that this team will ride with that. That's what you're going to need, right? I talk about this team will succeed if Connor Brogdon and figures it out with Knable. You need those guys. You are going to need those performers because Familia is hot garbage. Hot garbage. Now, I keep seeing these tweets all over the place. Why would the Phillies ever think that he could do anything right? Well, I mean, he's been in the majors for 11 seasons. Now, the back end of the Mets tenure was tough. But a lot of these pitchers have tough years, good years, tough years, average years, okay years, good years, bad years. Brad Hand's coming off of a year where people were disappointed in him. And I know he blew the last save, but overall, his body of work this year has been successful. Relief pitchers are flip of a coin. So, Familia, I mean, I can make the argument that maybe giving him as much money as they did is an issue. But in regards to why would you ever think? Well, because he's had generated success in the majors before, and being in the majors for over 10 years, there's something to it. And knowing your bullpen was blowing the most leads in Major League Baseball history and literally iconic version of a preposterous bullpen, you bring in someone who might have downfalls, but is at least a serviceable guy from the surface before we see the hindsight. Now we know it is vomit, but I'm just saying, before, if you say he could be maybe a low 3 ERA guy, I would have bought into that. You could have sold me that, and realistically, I did buy into it. We were wrong, and sometimes you're wrong. See, I saw this caption. This is why the Phillies are a loser organization. All they do is lose. Well, you can look around baseball all over the place, and sometimes organizations just miss on a bullpen player. I mean, trust me, there's billions of reasons why the Phillies were bad in years past, and bad under Matt Klentak, and bad under Andy McPhail, and they had a horrendous set of eyeballs on baseball decisions and a lack of communication within their entire organization from top to bottom. Sometimes you miss on bullpen players. Is that why the Phillies blow? I mean, I just think that there's plenty of reasons why the Phillies have sucked for years and years and years, pointing out a bullpen player that they spent a lot of money. David Robertson. I don't blame anybody for that happening. A guy that's never been injured in his career to the extent that he was, and then he breaks down after having strong seasons. So let me get this straight. When someone like Familia stinks, and then you bring him in, how dare a franchise like the Phillies look to see if he can be successful for you? Then you go after David Robertson, who is a stud and a longtime journeyman with a ton of generated success. He comes here and he breaks down because of where his age is, and that doesn't work either. So, I mean, it really is just a flip of the coin. Regardless, though, all I'm saying is really what I'm trying to break down here is I could understand what they were trying to look for when bringing in Familia. I don't think the money matched what I thought a fair expectation was, but knowing how baseball goes, this is sometimes what happens with bullpen pitchers. He blows, though, and it sucks that someone who you thought would help you out late is now basically a Norwood, a David Hale, a Brandon Workman. I mean, you brought in Brandon Workman. You look at his numbers in Boston before you brought him into town, and it was sensational, and he flopped miserably. I can go through the list of guys that were just great before they came here, and they just don't pan out here. I mean, it just, not that Familia was. Familia had his fair share of tough moments that we laughed at all the time from a distance in a Mets uniform. So I get that. I acknowledge that. But that's enough out of Familia. I'm definitely not supporting him by any means. I'm just kind of, playing both sides of the not preseason, but spring training and why you thought of his name before. Anyway, the Phillies lost 7-0. The Phillies lost 7-0. It's bad. It's bad. You got to respond tomorrow. This is it. We got to know emotionally. We're going to be riding through. It's going to be a bumpy ride. There's going to be some really, really exciting things like winning as much as they did to start the month of June and Kyle Schwarber rocking. You got Rhys Hoskins walking, which he just seems very poised at the plate right now and very confident in when he's in that box, knowing he's going to win that one-on-one duel more times than not. And it's a fun watch when Rhys Hoskins is this dialed in. And I love when they show a face-up, a very close-up face of Rhys Hoskins maybe after a pitch and he's taking a couple seconds out of the box fixing his batting gloves, and you could just see that look in his eye. He's so damn determined right now at the dish. It's important. It just stinks that the guys behind him are as piss poor as they are, and it has to change. It's unacceptable now, right? I mean, there's a level where you give them their time, figure it out, work through it. Adversity is a real thing in sports and in life. But now the adversity is reaching this aggressive level where are you going to turn it around at any point? And I mentioned this before, and we'll get to the phones in just one moment. 856-442-9805. I want to hear your thoughts after this loss. This isn't Cincinnati anymore. Is there something to this not being Cincinnati anymore? All right, before we go to the phones, look, injuries happen. And when they do, you need someone who is going to fight for their justice you deserve. And that's my friend Zach Green at Javerbaum Law Firm. Zach Green is an experienced personal injury attorney who will personally handle your case if you or a loved one have been injured in a car accident, slip and fall, or if you have been the victim of medical malpractice. Consultations are always free, and he can be reached at 609-790-3895. Zach grew up in the Philadelphia area, has a deep understanding of the personality of its sports fans. He's a 4-for-4 guy who will stand up for your rights and will fight for you. When you are hurt, you need a lawyer that is not afraid to go toe-to-toe with the insurance companies to get you the compensation you deserve. If you have been hurt, call Zach at 609-790-3895 or email him at zgreen@lawjw.com. You can visit his website in the link or in the description down below. The link is in the bio. Again, zgreen@lawjw.com. All right, let's hear from you out there. Thank you so much for joining the show tonight. You are on Broads Media.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you are on the air.
What's up? So it was just a pretty sad night. I'm pretty impressed with Gibson. He was able to work through some adversity, which is always impressive. Just the bats were a little cold, but hey, I think it's the third loss of the month of June, which is really impressive. Familia is just terrible. You're just not going to win a ball game with like an 0-for-8 Risp and 4 home runs let up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Yeah, I thought Kyle Gibson's day was fine. You get yourself ready. He did allow the one base runner before he ended up getting pulled by Rob, but ultimately, you look at his box score afterwards, he allowed a couple runs. Those back-to-back homers were killer. He did bleed a little bit. He was leaking some oil there because even after that, there was the double, and then there was that squeak through with Seager that scored another run there. So, it definitely leaked a little bit of oil, but you allow 3 runs to the Rangers, and I would expect this Phillies team, and of course, it ended up being 7, but it would have played out completely different if you actually were able to tack on runs at any point and make this thing a dogfight. Familia wouldn't be in the game, so all those bombs wouldn't have happened. The fact that Kyle Gibson gave you the length that he did with 3 earned runs, you told me that before the game, and I signed on the dotted lines that the Phillies should have enough offense and firepower to finish their job, but they were just ice cold, and the leaving guys on is definitely part of their brand right now, and it needs to change.
Yeah, just got unlucky. I saw Didi Gregorius, very, very long fly ball. I saw Nick Castellanos, I think the first baseman made a diving play to stop a hit. It was just an unlucky night. I'm not worried. I'm not stressed. It's the third loss. It's bound to happen, especially if you're facing Perez, who is definitely a very good pitcher. It's just, we're back at it tomorrow. We got Zach Wheeler on the mound.
Sure, Perez is a dog, and I I'm not worried, by the way, but the whole they got unlucky. I don't know if they got unlucky. They first and second, no outs, ground out into a double play, ground out for JT Realmuto. That's not unlucky. That's what they do, right? I mean, that is literally what we have been screaming about for game after game after game after game. Yeah, Castellanos did get robbed by that first base side, but at that point, the game kind of really lost whatever type of mojo you thought maybe the Phillies could come together as a collective group and see if there was any sort of like push or whatever. But at that point, the game was kind of what it was. I felt the description of the game was basically written and all over at that point. So that's somewhat of a blah Rob over at first base. To me, it wasn't unlucky. The other team played really good defense. That's not being unlucky. That's the other team stepping up, and the Phillies didn't step up their end of the bargain. One team did. The Rangers won the baseball game, and they took it from you. The Rangers competed harder. They attacked better. They made their plays better. So it wasn't unlucky. The other team outplayed you. That's not being unlucky. When you're unlucky is when you do a lot of things right, but the baseball god somehow, there's feelings where it just you're in cruise control. You're winning the game 4-0. And then somehow you blink and you lose 5. Like, what the hell just happened? They snatched it from you late. You deserve to win. You did all these things right. It's like, what the hell just you can't believe it. Things like that can happen. This wasn't that. Right? This wasn't you got lucky or a bad hop happened where it hit off the third base. It rolls into the outfield. Runners are advancing. Those are maybe some things where you go, oh, come on. You did a lot of things right. And they didn't do a lot of things right here from the hitting side of the baseball. And that's where the downfall really occurred right from the rip. That started the game off. And you mentioned it. Perez is a damn good pitcher. Imagine if you could spit in his face inning number 1. Spit in his face. Instead, you hock the loogie, but you don't spit the loogie. You swallowed the loogie. What the hell was that? You swallowed the loogie? You swallowed the loogie. Oh, man. Let's hear from Amadeo. How are you, Amadeo?
It's a pretty meh feeling after this game. Just really the runs in scoring position situation, even going back to the Washington series, kind of concerning. And just I don't know why this team is so night and day with Bryce Harper in and out of the lineup. I don't know why it's so
well, because one guy's an NL MVP. he's literally the best player in the National League.
I mean, I understand that, but it's just like when Bryce is not in the lineup, you have capable guys in that lineup that should be able to man the offense fine. Kyle Schwarber having a fantastic month. Rhys Hoskins, fantastic day at the plate. It's those two guys that are in the middle of the lineup, Castellanos and JT, that are really hurting you right now. And right now they should not be batting behind each other.
You have to change that if you're Rob, for sure. And yeah, it does seem like they're sucking the life out of anything that's positive where, I'm sure the players are like, hey, you got it here, fellas. Hey, keep going, whatever. But deep down they go, damn it, this is another one. This is another L. These are going to be another at-bats that are tough. And it sucks any sort of possible rise and any sort of possible momentum swing right out of you. Because when it's them again, like let's say, for example, it's Munoz or it's Vierling or it's somebody else. It's deflating, but if it's JT and Castellanos for the 16th time in the last week and a half, that deflation is multiplied by like 12.
Exactly. And just you need those guys to come up clutch in those situations. And maybe it's a bright spot that Bryce was available to pinch hit today. So hopefully that is a sign he could be playing in tomorrow's game because you're definitely going to need that. And you're going to need everything, even though Zach Wheeler's on the bump tomorrow. So that should be a guaranteed win because Zach Wheeler is just that amazing.
Sure. No doubt about it. He is. Yeah. Let's hope that Bryce Harper's coming back here soon. I'm not too nervous about him long term. You had the infection and the blister, and I read all sorts of, pieces on what this blister is like and all that. And, time will be all right. Time will help him out, and he'll be fine from there. There was something I wanted to get to that you mentioned that I think I'm just going to absolutely forget. And I think I did absolutely forget it. I see the chat ripping Familia. He's AAA pitcher. Yeah, he's no bueno. He can't help you at all anymore. I don't have any faith. Some guys I think maybe could turn it around and be all right. I don't feel that. Like, I think Corey Knebel, by the end of the year, could turn this thing around. I do. I believe that. I think Corey Knebel is in a spot in his career where this is tough. It's hard, but I think he can do it. I don't think Familia can do it. I think he's hit the full-on wall of, oh, shit, oh, damn. And you can kind of see that in his face when the next homer happens and he's getting the baseball and he's walking back. You could see it in his body language. And trust me, I didn't love the last outing out of Corey Knebel. I did like the one before his last outing. So 2 outings ago was good. This outing wasn't, or his most recent one against the Nationals wasn't. And at one point, you thought he could be your closer. Maybe he's a 7th, 8th. Maybe it's Sir Anthony in the 9th, Brad Hand in the 8th, and Knebel earns a nice 7th spot. And one player I'll relate this to is Hector Neris. Everybody rolled Hector Neris out. Everyone said Hector Neris is one of the worst ever closing. He went into the 8th, and he was a damn lethal weapon and a machine in the 8th inning. No one would have ever thought he would be after how awful it was in the 9th. I still believe in Corey Knebel. I really don't believe that Familia can turn this puppy around, but you think of the financial and Dave Dombrowski's move to bring him in. Whew. But if it continues this path, I mean, you don't really have many options here. This is a disaster, and it's unplayable. Unplayable. He's now, hey, can he eat up some innings? It's 8-0. That's what he deserves. That's the time that he's at. And you don't pay somebody $6 million. You know who does that? Me. You know who does that? You. You know who does that? David Hale. Those are the guys that get the opportunity when you slot in there. Hey, we need you to get 3 innings. We're losing 12-1, and we don't feel like pitching Roman Quinn. I mean, really, that's kind of where it gets down to by the end of it. This game had that's what I wanted to bring up, which Amadeo didn't reference this at all. It was just kind of in my brain when he was speaking. This game had a really bizarre moment. How about Munoz? Munoz is swinging and missing on a pitch that hits his shoulder. What the hell are we doing? I don't think I've seen that before. I don't think I've seen Odubel Herrera swing at a pitch. Excuse me. You hear that? I think that's actually, that was my taco. That was my tacos that I had because I was so disgusted at even thinking about a pitch that Odubel Herrera swung at where the ball went through his legs and he swung at, right? Like how? Well, Munoz tried to pull an Odubel Herrera. Was Odubel's worse? Probably was worse. But I'll tell you what, you definitely had another spot there. That's laughable. All right, before we get out of here, my friends over at Versus Game, it's a fantastic app that allows me and you to connect than ever before, closer than ever before. I make up a question, and you can win money based off of that question. And the question I have up right now, I posted it today. Aaron Nola takes the mound in San Diego Friday night. Will he walk a batter? That's the question. Will he walk a batter? And for some context, he intentionally walked Juan Soto in his last start against the Washington Nationals. His 4 starts before that, 0 walks. So really, it's 5 straight games with no walks. The one was an intentional walk, so that counts. Obviously, I'm saying in my brain, it doesn't count, but in reality, it does count. And if they do intentionally walk somebody, you have to factor that into this question on Versus Game. I'm saying from a morale, from a, let's say, barbershop style conversation. Come on, does that really count? It does count, but does it really count? The dude's been sensational. Will he walk 0 batters or will he walk 1+ batters? You can make money on this question. Versus Game is an opportunity for you to cash out from your knowledge with my question. It's the app everybody is talking about that lets you win Benjamins for being right. You as the player can play these questions for free, or you can play them with real money. $1 up to $100 per question against other people that play Versus Game. So go download Versus Game now, which the link is down below in the description. Sign up utilizing that link. It will help me out tremendously. Search Broads, and from there you will find me, and we can compete and hang out together on Versus Game. We'll head out of here in just one moment. Andrew comments into the chat here and says Camargo did not look real healthy tonight. Took a couple swings during those at-bats where he was moving his shoulder, he was moving his arm. He had 2 He did look a little bit out of sorts there, so something to monitor as he did return to the lineup, and we're praying that we get Bryce Harper back pretty soon here, just in regards to, guys coming in and out of the lineup. Let's see what we get tomorrow, and hopefully they don't get swept in this 2-game set in Texas. That would not be fun. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out. New to the channel, subscribe button, hit that now. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. If you want to buy tickets for any Phillies game or any event out there, promo code BROAD, SeatGeek's checkout page for new users gets $20 off of your purchase. Are you kidding me? That means no fees, no parking, $20 right off your purchase. Bada bing, bada boom. SeatGeek, promo code BROADS. Get yourself to an event today. And lastly, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, social media platforms at Broads Media. Thank you guys so much. I love you all to death. I will catch you on the next one.